Muy buenas a todos, nos encontramos en Jerusalén, ha estallado la guerra entre Israel e Irán y el ministro de la Diáspora, el ministro que combate la propaganda antisemita por todo el mundo, Amichai Chikli, ha tenido la decencia y también la amabilidad de concedernos unos minutos esta entrevista que queremos que compartáis porque es muy importante, ¿no?, que la prensa internacional está silenciando la versión, la verdad, ¿no?, de Israel, no están yendo a cubrir las zonas atacadas. Y ya quiero saludar a este ministro que ha estado en la Armada, que es valiente, que le viene en el SIPAC, que va por todo el mundo defendiendo la bandera de Israel y los valores occidentales, y que también ha estado con nuestro presidente Javier Negre. How you doing, Amichai Chikli? Thanks for everything.
Gracias a Dios.
Sí, you speak Spanish or not?
Poquito.
Un poquito. You are going to start in English. Like, how are you dealing with this war? I saw you in the events with Javier Negre and suddenly start the war. How do you deal with it?
Yeah, so it's not really suddenly. We already had a war since October 7th. Also regarding Iran, there were massive attacks coming on October 24 in April. Hundreds of ballistic missiles were firing into Israel. So the kids are kind of used to the situation. They are calm. They understand the situation. They're having a fast maturity process, unfortunately, but they are strong, and I think that generally speaking, Israeli society is strong, people are strong, resilient, and we all understand that this war is important for future generations. That's why we are also optimistic. You can see even the stock exchange, which is also on the rise. There's hope and there's faith in the future of the state of Israel, from within and from without.
You have your family, you have kids. How is the life right now with the crisis cabinet, with alarms, you know? How you explain the war to your kids?
Yeah, so first to explain the war, on the moral level, this is a war between good and bad, right and wrong, democracy and despotism, between a culture that cherish life and cultures that cherish death. This is the true nature of the war. It's not just a war over resources, over influence, over strategic assets. This is also a moral war. This is also a spiritual war between dark forces, Iran, Hezbollah, Hamas, and the state of Israel. And I think that this is one of the most important wars we had in our history. It started on October 7 when we saw evil that we haven't seen since the Holocaust. You know, we had big wars before October 7. Yom Kippur War, the 6-Day War, 1982. But this kind of war with such a tsunami of violence towards innocent civilians, with raping and burning their bodies and decapitating their bodies, it's so horrific. This pure evil. And the fight against this evil is, I think, extremely important, not just for the state of Israel, but for the entire Western civilization.
Why the international press are censoring, no, the image, the hard image of the attacks Hamas to Israel in October 7?
Look, I think that many people in the West, they don't get the situation on the ground. What does it mean to fight against an organization such as Hamas? What's the philosophy of Hamas, the ideology of Hamas, and also the methods that they use in order to manipulate public opinion and the reality on the ground? First, it's very important to understand fighting in Gaza is fighting in the most fortified underground system in the history of warfare. We are speaking about hundreds of miles of kilometers underneath the ground. And on top of it, it's all civil. You have a neighborhood, and the enemy is underneath the neighborhood. And his main assets are underneath the school or underneath the hospital. Now, when we attacked Muhammad Sinwar, the brother of Yahya Sinwar, who was the head of Hamas, his command position were right down the hospital, the European hospital in Khan Yunis. So he knew exactly where to put the hospital, because in order to hit his bunker, you must hit the hospital. So it looks very bad. But on the other hand, what are you going to do? You're going to let this monster who is running this terror organization hold 55 hostages? You're going to let him run the war from beneath the hospital? You can't do it. You just can't do it. And this is something that people don't understand. Second, the manipulation in the numbers of the casualties. Hamas never admits what's the real number of the personnel that he lost. How many terrorists were exactly killed? We don't have the exact number. We can only make assessment. He has the exact number, but he never says the truth. And he's taking the numbers of civilians and throwing numbers. Afterwards, you can see and check that the actual numbers can't be that high. And therefore, this is another dimension. When you have the Gaza Ministry of Health controlling the reports regarding the casualties, it's very hard to compete because we don't have the tools to measure the exact amount of casualties. And also, when you speak generally about this issue, it's important to understand that Hamas can stop the war at any given moment. Release the hostages, lay down your weapon, it's the end of the war. That's it.
How do you think the war has to stop? If Netanyahu has to go against Iran, they have to change the regime or not? How do you
Look,
manage?
with Iran, you have two threats that are strategic, vital threats against Israel. One is the nuclear program. They have reached uranium to the level of 60%. That's a high level. 90% is enough for the weapon. Okay? So they made a significant process with enriching the uranium, and it became very, very dangerous because they already have the amount of reached uranium that can produce 4 to 5 bombs. So we were at no choice of letting the Iranians go ahead with the nuclear plan, because before we speak about the capabilities, the intentions, since Khomeini and afterwards the other leaders such as Ahmadinejad or Khamenei, they are all saying very clear, our mission is to eliminate Israel. By the way, not just Israel. They are speaking about the big Satan, which is America, and the small Satan, which is Israel. They have a goal to eliminate Israel. In order to reach this goal, they've created a chain around Israel. Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis, terror in Judea and Samaria. Okay? To have Israel surrounded by terror organizations that can destroy it. During this war, we have destroyed these terror organizations. We have destroyed Hezbollah. We have destroyed Hamas. The most fascinating thing about the recent phase of this war, on the 13th of June, is that Hezbollah did nothing. Because they were hit so hard that they can do nothing. And Hezbollah was created exactly for this moment. And it's neutralized. So this is one. Second is the nuclear plan. And The other threat is the ballistic missiles. They now possess, the beginning of this phase, they had 2,500 ballistic missiles. Each one carries between 300 kilo to 1 ton. These are heavy warheads of ballistic missiles, huge damage, and you saw it. And we've lost already 22 innocent civilian. They hit directly to the heart of the city centers. And you saw it with your bare eyes. So they wanted to reach a level of 8,000 ballistic missiles. Now with this amount of ballistic missiles, it's a threat, extremely dangerous threat, even without nuclear weapon. Also conventional ballistic missiles at this number for such a tiny state like Israel, it is a major threat. So this is the reason why we went into this preemptive war, defense war, to make sure that Iran cannot continue with its nuclear program and also cannot continue with having this amount of ballistic missiles. That is the story. Regarding the regime, this is the mission of the people in Iran, and it depends on the will of the people in Iran. Obviously, I think that this regime is a nightmare for the people of Iran. It's a terror regime. We all recall Masha Amini, that was hit and killed because she was not wearing a burqa. We all know what's happened to gay people, that they are hanging them in the middle of the streets. We know exactly what's the nature of this regime. So I think it's very good for the people in Iran to seize the moment and to do something in order to have a change of regime. But Israel cannot do it for the people in Iran. That's the mission of the Iranian people, of the Iranian opposition.
Trump is saying that Israel and Iran has to make a deal for peace. What do you think about it?
Look, I'm not a great believer in deals with the Satan, a deal with the Iranians. They are masters in buying time, manipulating Western countries. They're lying. They cannot be trusted. And I think that the main mission now needs to be first to make sure that we destroy as much as we can components of the nuclear plan of Iran. This is one. So we had Natanz, we had Isfahan. We still have the mission of Pordo, which is more complicated. And then we have the ballistic missiles, and to hit as much as we can the bases of these ballistic missiles, the carrier of the ballistic missiles, the missiles themselves, the scientists who are responsible for the nuclear program, commanders of the Revolutionary Guards, and to make the most out of the war that we were handling now. So I wouldn't rush into a deal with the Iranians.
Do you think that this war is being used to promote more the anti-Semitism all over the world?
Look, Iran invested a lot of money in creating campaigns on social media. We saw tens of thousands of bots coming from Iran, spreading the blood libel of a genocide, that we are committing genocide. We saw Iranian accounts, not just in Iran itself, but also Iranian accounts in England and other places. And we could see that this is a work of the Revolutionary Guards to push forward these kind of campaigns on social media. So they did it before the current phase of the war, and they are doing it now as well.
And what are you doing against that kind of campaigns? Because it's really difficult. Do you think that the Israeli government has to improve the hasbara all over the world, because it's really tough to fight against fake news?
Yeah, look, we have the problem that the Muslim world is huge. Yeah. The Jewish community and the Jewish people is relatively tiny. I think the main challenge is to convince our friends in Western countries that this war is not just about the Jews. It is not just about the state of Israel. Anti-Semitism, when it's on the rise, it means you have a problem in society. It's a moral problem. And what starts with the Jews, as Rabbi Sachs said, never ends with the Jews. And therefore, when you have a major problem of anti-Semitism, usually you need to go and take a better look to understand what else is going on. When you look at what's going on Western countries, the general level of anti-Semitism in the society is not high in terms of the minds of the people. You have the ADL annual, not annual, 10 years research. Every decade they have a big research on the public opinion regarding anti-Semitism. And you can see that in the left it's between 9 to 13%. Okay, the level of anti-Semitism in Canada, Australia, France, Britain, etc., etc. But on the other hand, you have a rise in the number of incidents. And the rise in the number of incidents is usually related to the number of illegal immigrants, migrants from Muslim countries who are being affected by propaganda coming from Al Jazeera, the PR channel of terror, who is coming from Turkey, AKP, Erdogan's Muslim Brotherhood party. And this investment in Al Jazeera, mosques, all sorts of NGOs, of Islamic organizations, they are the one who pushing forward the anti-Semitism ideology, especially within the migrants, and they are in charge of most of the anti-Semite incidents and also the major demonstrations that we see in the streets of Britain, France, etc., etc. Meaning, when you go and check who is behind the major protest, US, Britain, Australia, Europe, who is behind graffitis, who is behind raping young girls in Paris and shouting a dirty Jew or free Palestine or whatever, you can see that in most of the cases these are immigrants from Muslim country who were affected by Al Jazeera, who were affected by the sheikh in the mosques sponsored by states like Qatar, Turkey, etc., etc. That is the reality.
The Spanish government is financing the anti-Semitism. What do you think about Pedro Sanchez and the use also the public television and Eurovision to make propaganda against Israel?
Well, Sanchez is a serious case of an anti-Semite politician. I don't call him a leader because I don't see any leadership skills of Sanchez. Is taking advantage of anti-Semitism to promote himself, to be at the forefront of the news. I think that the most horrific thing he is done was to take advantage of the first hostages deal when we released young kids and women. And he, alongside with the Prime Minister of Belgium, they went to Rafah crossing for a press party in order to seize the media opportunity and to spread their messages on establishing a Palestinian state as an award for the massacre of October 7. This is one. Now with the Eurovision, we saw that the people in Spain are not aligned with Sanchez. They're not anti-Semitic. They're not against the state of Israel. We have a lot of friends in Spain. Isabella Ayuso, Madrid, Santiago Abascal, the head of Vox. Vox party is extremely strategic friend of the state of Israel, of the Jewish people. A much more realistic, much more pragmatic, much more serious party. And I hope that this party will have a significant role in the future of Spain. Regarding Sanchez, we are following the demonstrations, and I encourage the people in Spain to continue because he is a corrupt man. First, because he cannot tell the difference between good and bad, right and wrong. So if you cannot tell the difference between Hamas and the state of Israel, it means your moral compass is totally broken. You are irrelevant.
What do you think about Greta Thunberg? She came to Israel to promote the Palestine flag.
Look, Greta, she's she's like the best example of the woke virus. What is she doing? She's trying to find what's like the current thing to support, okay? What's the current thing? And then to take advantage of it. She have zero authenticity. She knows nothing about the conflict. Nothing. She's uneducated. And she, we call it the selfie flotilla. Mm-hmm. She went for a PR flotilla with this anti-Semite from the European Parliament, Rima, who is a Syrian immigrant. She's a joke. That's to summarize.
Do you think Netanyahu is going to maintain the power if we have elections?
Look, at the moment, this decision, it's considered like a Ben Gurion decision to go into a war against Iran. That's a decisive decision, very bold decision to go against a superpower in the region that created this huge impact with the Houthis, Hezbollah, controlling the regime in Syria with Bashar al-Assad, Gaza, terror organization in Africa, in Judea and Samaria. And now to go directly against the Revolutionary Guard, against Khamenei, and to be able to eliminate the chief of staff, the head of the Revolutionary Guards, the head of the intelligence, to hit the nuclear site, strategic news. This is a very serious development. It's not going to be, like around in the park. It's tough. We have lost 22 civilians so far in this phase of the war. But I believe that we can win this war and to have a clear victory, decisive victory against Iran, against Hamas, against Hezbollah. It's a long war. It's a difficult war. We've lost many, many soldiers, many civilians, especially on October the 7th. But for the future generations, for our kids, for our grandchildren, this is something which is we must do it.
Mm-hmm. The president of Argentina, Milei, was here with Netanyahu supporting Israel. What do you think about his leadership?
Yes, this is the leader. Strong moral compass. I see him as a beacon of light, truth. He's obviously someone who is also very connected spiritually to God, to truth. He represents to me the opposite of wokeism. The opposite of wokeism is faith. Wokeism is a godless philosophy, like communism and like Nazism. In a godless philosophy, since there is no transcendent truth, there is no good, there is no bad, there's no morality. And this is the secret of Milei.
And the ambassador of Argentina in Israel, Alex, is working.
Yes, he's a very close friend. He also a man of faith, a man of truth, a very modest man, very wise.
And he wants to bring the embassy here to Jerusalem. What do you think?
That's amazing. I hope to have the Argentinian embassy as they told. Also, I think one of the most amazing ideas that came from President Milei is to create an organization that will replace the UN, who is totally corrupted. The UN today is Sanchez, Guterres. It's a total loss. We have nothing to do with the UN. And he came with the idea to create an organization of democracies who believes in liberty, who believes in this moral compass, in the understanding of the nature of truth and wrong and right and bad. That's, I think, something which is super strategic to try and push forward this idea to bring the US, to bring serious European states and other states that want to join, and to replace the UN. That I think can be a very significant development.
Thank you very much, and you are welcome.
Thank you,
to
Javier.
America, to Argentina, to Spain, and we are with you in our media, La Derecha Diario and TV.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you.